You know what I like about the Ducktales 2 and 2017 is the enormous amount of callback on it. Not only for the old shows, but even for shows that was just as popular as Ducktales, 90 show, or was it 87? Well, it did premiere 87. Either way, this episode here, perfect. I mean, okay, maybe not perfect, but the amount of callback on it was so fun. I practically had to say, oh my god, they really went that way. This is a Webby and Ducktales. No, did I just say Ducktales? Webby and Scrooge episode. And it's me, the angry anime fan, the despair reviewer, here to bring you the summary of this episode, so to speak, from the confidential case file of Agent 22, who is revealed to be in this episode to be Betina Beakley. Also, this episode has a cameo by a very familiar person, who is head of it all. Either way, this details how Betina Beakley, aka Agent 22, and Scrooge actually met. In the start of this episode, Betina is cleaning up the messes from the boys, but then suddenly gets attacked in the kitchen. Turns out by an old enemy, Black Heron, who is voiced by, the same voice of Turk from the Legend of Tarzan series. What is her name? April Winchell, I think her name is. Well, she's very famous in the Disney media. She also was Clarabella Cow. Either way, and once Scrooge finds out finds the feathers, he immediately connects the dots about it all. And we see brief flashbacks on Beakley's past. It turns out, yes, she really was a spy, but not the way I thought it was. I thought she was a spy that was, spying on Scrooge. No. It was nothing like that. Turns out Scrooge, in his younger days, he was probably very old, given what we have seen from the Golden Plains thing. It's probably impossible to calculate exactly how old Scrooge is now. But apparently, Betina Beakley was a member of Shush, a secret organization, and she was assigned Scrooge as a partner in order to find the lost page of the ancients. And who was the one who assigned her this mission? Well, none other than Ludwig von Drake, the Disney character, the mad scientist. He is in this, the one, my friends. And now that is nice. It is also but it's most fun of it all is the fact that this book of the ancients, that is from Castle Dunwin, is actually, even the page itself references, is actually the gummy bears. The gummy bears exist in the Ducktales 27 universe. What, is this meant to say that even the gummy bears are gonna get a remake? Wouldn't that beat all, Well, either way, it's but it turns out that Fowl, the terrorist organization that was in the Darkwing Duck universe, as we saw before, Darkwing Duck appeared to be, show within a show, but apparently Fowl is a real terror organization, and Sush is the crime-fighting one. Either way, the Scrooge intends to go save Beakley, and of course Webby tags along, whether he likes it or not, and the boys are not important and all. Donald also has a cameo in this episode. Apparently he once tried to make an omelet and made a disaster instead, and then he locked himself into the, scoop for some reason. So anyway, this episode has a lot of the more darker tunes, as we see not only flashbacks of when they get to the island, but also what happens. They are attacked by a goo that is electric, killer robots, and it turns out that Scrooge in this younger days was actually just like Webby now. Very hyperactive and a lot, going with the flow. It's true that Scrooge always bested his enemies, and you have to think smart, not easy. But this episode seems to suggest that Scrooge also was a little bit of a non-serious type of guy, which clashes a little bit with what he has said before. So, who knows? Either way, they find an old video where Black Heron recorded when she had captured the younger Beakley and proclaimed with this potion that she would conquer the world. Yeah, she would conquer the world with the gummy bears bouncing potion. That is actually one of the more comedic moments of this episode. How the heck would she conquer the world using bouncing medicine from the gummy bears? Granted, however, the gummy bears in the old show always did, defeat the gremlins. Was it ogres? It was such a long time since I saw that show. But still, it wasn't like it was a weapon of mass destruction. I mean, medicine of mass destruction is perhaps better to say it. So either way, but they get captured by the older Black Heron, who is revealed to have a cybernetic arm in this episode. She did not have it in the past. Of course, Beakley is furious for Webby to follow, but Webby technically followed Scrooge even though he didn't want to. So, but then having traveled a little bit with Webby, Scrooge had realized that Webby is a little bit more resourceful than he thinks. So by using some kind of talking from the talk before, he managed to make Webby take the potion from the Black Heron, even though they are captured, and she bounces, and the Black Heron and Webby enters a bouncing match that even ends up with them up in the world, sky, where Webby doesn't hesitate to make Black Heron fall to her death. So, using a combo at moments, Scrooge saves Webby, and Black Heron seemingly falls to her death. I mean, she managed to grab the place, not Ruth, but before she lands, she managed to grab the side of it all with her cybernetic hand. But when the team moves on to see what is happening, if she's still hanging on, turns out her cybernetic arm, got loose, meaning she fell into the water, probably to her death, or who knows. We don't really know, but we do see in the flashback that using cooperation, Agent 22, aka Beakley, and Scrooge managed to outmaneuver Heron and escape from it. When Heron tried to save her potion, it blowed up in her arm, and that's how she lost her arm. So either way, that one. So that was how Beakley and Scrooge met, and they proclaimed themselves Agent McDuck and Agent 22. And how Beakley suddenly retired to become a maid, no idea, but maybe we will see that in a future episode. At least we hope. So, and as they all sail away, I mean, Launchpad is in the subway, but using blindfold. I have no idea how he does that. Webby befriends Scrooge a little bit more, and Scrooge says the same thing he said to the Webby Gale of the old series, that she can call him Uncle Scrooge. That's basically this episode. It's it does have some pretty. I mean, while a serious episode, it has some comedic moments. Especially it's revealed that Scrooge likes to drink his tea with one drop of milk in a single tea bag for an entire month, because the deliciousness is cheaper. Also, in the flashback of his old, he didn't want to go over a budget of £6,000, even though he was a billionaire. So, and also, as I said before, this episode is a little bit darker, especially with Webby Gale, one not afraid to use lethal force in order to destroy the Black Heron. But she is a little bit, cuckoo for a 11-year-old girl. Granted, how she was raised, I cannot blame her. I mean, don't get me wrong, she's still an adorable girl, but sometimes she is a little bit like that, It also revealed that Scrooge actually has an upgraded cane that he got from Ludwig von Drake, who is in this episode very reminiscent of Q. All that was left was Q, very comedic dialogue. Not that I watched some James Bond movies, but the Q from GoldenEye, that was always my favorite Q. So much fun. It also has a little bit of a radar joke here. Is the fact that Webby is very interested in Scrooge's history, and he, as an old man, hearing that from a young girl is understandably a little bit freaking out. All in all, though, a very solid episode. Nice origin. Of course, there are some moments left out, but uh, especially of the fact that we still don't know who Webby's parents are or how come Beakley raised her, but at least we know now how Scrooge and she met. But we do not know yet about that, nor how the fact that Beakley decides to retire to become from a spy and just become a maid for Scrooge. But maybe that is connected to Webby. After all, she did say she has raised her. But other than that, well, it's a solid episode. The fact that they had the gummy bears as the ancient guardians. I mean, granted, they didn't even say the gummy bears, and the formula was a bouncing drug. I mean, that was hilarious. Really, that was really hilarious. Well, what do you think about this episode? Do you want to see more about the ancient history of Agent 22? Do you think we will see more history of 22? I, for one, do not think so. I mean, if there's one thing I know about cartoon people, it's that they always forget some continuity. But I still like this episode, so give me your thoughts if you have any.